In a world where the marks think they know better than the wrestlers and the bookers, the Fantasy Booking Institute exists to pretty much do exactly that. This is a visit from the FBI.
This is Dan the Dad, and you should listen to Raw and Order or you're grounded.
Welcome to another episode of Pro Wrestling Game Night. I am your host, Detective Mark Smarks. This is the lovely sort of game show where apparently schedules don't matter. I am your host, Detective Mark Smarks, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host and partner in crime, fighting District Attorney Vincent Kayfabe. What's going on, man? How are you?
And the points don't count, and this is our guest, Wayne Brady.
Yes.
Wait, never mind. That's different improv.
Just the two of us tonight.
Just us.
So, we're gonna have some fun, play some wrestling games, maybe book some fantasy wrestling stuff. Who knows? Hopefully you're joining us. Hopefully you're liking it. If you do like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, or that follow button on Twitch, so that you can get notified when we go live. We do this twice a week, Sunday nights and Tuesday nights, and we say we're going to start at 10:30 Central, but we apparently sometimes clocks are hard. It's just anyways.
Let's be honest. We sat here and played a little game of trivia before we played trivia.
Yeah. Well, that's the deal. So here's the long and the short of it. I was planning on doing a pro wrestling trivia challenge between my two co-hosts.
1.5.
But notice that I do not have two co-hosts right now. I just have the one, which makes it really hard to do the. Makes it really hard. Yeah. Hashtag not sponsored by Blue Chew. But seriously, Blue Chew, hit us up, man.
Yeah, we're both in our 40s.
We're both in our 40s, man.
And I don't know if you've noticed, but a man in his 40s starts to lose some. Well,
maybe you just need to spice things up a bit.
Oh wait, wrong commercial. That wasn't Blue Chew.
Yeah, Limitless Mail. You could also hit me up. I
had low T.
Big.
We didn't settle for energy drinks.
Yeah, we would do that, or Mountain Dew. Hit us up if you want to.
It's technically an energy drink. It's just low caffeine.
Yeah. So here's the fun thing. Just totally unrelated, but sort of related to wrestling. Logan Paul and KSI.
Homeboy's under blast for making an energy drink that says not intended for people under the age of.
They're angry because it's got 200 milligrams of caffeine per can, and that, quote, kids are drinking. Well, number one, if your kid's drinking an energy drink,
that's a parent problem.
That's a parent problem. I'm a parent. I'm about as liberal as they come. That's still a parent problem.
But here's the deal. You guys see me with these at nighttime, drinking these bad boys, or C4s, or whatever. This particular drink that I have right here, I don't know if you can read that, 240 milligrams of caffeine. That is 6 cups of coffee.
Yep.
My kid is not allowed to touch this crap, and I have it all over in my house.
Yes. I mean, here's the simple fact. I'm gonna be like really blunt here. If this is not a professional diagnosis, but if you can drink an energy drink like that at night and then still go to sleep, you are probably neurodivergent, possibly autistic, at the very least ADHD, because ADHD, caffeine does not affect ADHD. I know caffeine does not affect us the same way that it affects neurotypical people.
You could also be sociopathic.
Yeah, it's the same reason that the primary treatment for ADHD, all of the primary ones, are stimulants, because stimulants affect ADHD people in a different way than they affect neurotypical people. Neurotypical people, stimulants make them hyper and all that stuff. ADHD people, stimulants help them focus, help them calm down and that's why ADHD people can shotgun an energy drink and then go to sleep. But here's the big thing that I wanted to kind of talk about with it is I'm going to bring this up on screen because I looked this one up earlier, and it's a pretty good reference for it. They're specifically naming Prime Energy Drink in their thing. Let's make this a little bit bigger. I know it's going to cover up one of them, but Prime Energy Drink isn't on here.
I'll go off screen.
That's right. Prime Energy Drink isn't on this list, right? But other really popular ones are, right? Bang Energy Drink is really popular. 300 milligrams of caffeine. Ghost Energy Drink, really popular right now. It's got, you can see it in there, that's Sour Patch Kids flavor. 200 milligrams of caffeine. Alani Nu, you can buy this at Target right next to Prime. 200 milligrams of caffeine.
Where's Alani Nu? I've never tried that.
It's actually
that looks like a seltzer.
It's not a seltzer. They actually it's not a seltzer. It's a regular energy drink. It tastes good. They do make hard versions of them too, and the cans are almost identical. So it's very tricksy. I took one of them to work one day. I'm drinking it at work, and someone looked at me and said, "Are
you seriously having alcohol at work?
Are you doing that?" And I said, "No, this is the non-alcohol. This is just an energy drink." But C4 Energy, 200 milligrams. Beyond Raw.
That's my favorite, y'all.
You like C4? I've never actually.
Yeah. I ordered by the case from Amazon.
Beyond Raw Lit, 250 milligrams of caffeine. Come down here. Rain Energy, 300 milligrams of caffeine. Here's Zoa by the good old The Rock, 160 milligrams of caffeine. That's one of the lighter ones. My favorite is NOS, 160 milligrams of caffeine. But I've had Bang.
Bang has some fantastic flavors.
Yeah,
the soda companies could learn a little something from some of these companies, because these guys make not tasty stuff taste good.
What I didn't know is regular Monster has 160 milligrams of caffeine, but Monster Zero Sugar only has 140 milligrams. I feel like I'm being robbed.
I don't feel like these are all accurate. I think Zero Sugar Monster, the white ones that I drink sometimes, those are 160 too, as well.
We'll find out.
Well, we just saw. I have a Rockstar Pure Zero, and it says 160 on here, and mine is 240.
According to the internet, Muscle Food says it's got 150 milligrams in the White Monster. But here, let's pull up. This is the actual product label for it. White Monster. Caffeine from all sources, 140 per can.
Oh. I could cut down on my caffeine with that.
Mm-hmm. So. But yeah, here's the deal is, they're not covering every flavor in it. Mountain Dew Rye is 180 milligrams of caffeine. So they're going after Prime for having 200 milligrams, when on this list alone, there's 1, 2, 3.
3 with more.
Three with more.
No,
and
4.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4.
No, 3 with more.
3 with more. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
8, if you count Beyond, because that's more. So with the same or more.
Yeah.
7, 8.
So I just think it's a little bit disingenuous to be targeting Prime when there are plenty of, and this isn't even an exhaustive list by any means, right?
Well, the reason that it feels as though it's marketed to children is Logan Paul.
Mm-hmm.
And Logan Paul and Jake and their family, that podcast group. And the reason that feels that way is because you have your kids on socials or YouTube more than you have them playing games outside or, doing their homework or things of that sort. And again, I know this because I make a conscientious effort to reduce my son's YouTube usage. Not because I'm afraid that he's going to learn, how to build a nuclear bomb or something like that. No. Just because he needs to be a kid. He didn't learn. He didn't know who Logan Paul is. He's never watched that stuff. But because they're on YouTube, people think, oh, that's how they're marketing to kids. I don't know, man. That's really weak. That's really, really weak. I don't see how Prime is marketed to kids. It's not. Yeah. It's not. No more than Sour Patch on Ghost.
Yeah, Ghost has, like I said, Ghost has legitimate candy on its. It says Sour Patch Kids, right on its label. I mean, that's fucking candy there. But again, what it really comes down to, what I've said before, and again, I'm about as liberal as they come. This is a parent thing. This is a parent thing. If you are a parent and you're letting your kid drink any of these energy drinks, that's on you. It's not on the marketing of it. They label exactly how much caffeine is in any one of these energy drinks, right? You want to know, you pick it up and you turn the label around. They're required by law. Every single one of them does.
To the same tune, though, some of those had 85 on them. Okay, well, a can of Mountain Dew has 65 milligrams of caffeine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, 2 of those is more than that. Mm-hmm. And there are some parents who let their kids drink gobs of Mountain Dew. A 12-ounce can of Mountain Dew, 65 grams. Milligrams, sorry. God, 65 grams of caffeine. Milligrams. Do not consume caffeine by the gram.
When I was young,
Jolt.
I drank
what did that have?
Jolt Cola. They have 10 milligrams per fluid ounce. So a 12-ounce can had 120 milligrams of caffeine, right? And later they came out with them exclusively in 16-ounce bottles. So 160 milligrams of caffeine,
which is every single one of those things that we saw.
Yep.
Now there was a lot more sugar in Jolt than those zero sugar ones.
No, the zero sugar ones, but in actuality, Jolt didn't have that much sugar in it, comparatively speaking.
Really?
Yeah, because let me see if I can find and I say comparatively speaking, I'm not saying it was low in sugar by any means, but in a 16-ounce serving of it had 50 grams of sugar. The equivalent serving of Coke has 52 grams of sugar.
Really? So it had less sugar than regular Coca-Cola?
Mm-hmm.
Jolt was actually worse for you than Surge when they took. Well, Surge actually had less caffeine than Mountain Dew, didn't it? I think we had that conversation once upon a time. Here, I'll look that up.
I got it. Surge had 50.0.
Yeah, 51 and 12 ounces.
51, yep, 12 ounces.
Mellow Yellow had Mellow Yellow, the mellow one, had more caffeine than Surge.
Yep.
That's crazy.
But people didn't come here.
Jolt was damn near a Red Bull. Pepsi was at 55. Mountain Dew had 55.
Well, that feels I fucking chugged Jolts when I was in high school. Like, chugged them. I cannot tell you how many nights, Friday nights, because my parents didn't let me do these on weeknights, and none of my friends' parents did. But I would be up till 3:00 in the morning playing D&D with my friends, pounding Jolt Colas. You know what I mean? I pounded Jolt Colas and took no-dos. Right? Knowing now that I have fucking ADHD and caffeine doesn't affect me the same way, it makes a whole lot of sense how I was able to then just go to fucking sleep after that. And it wasn't really effective at keeping me awake, but I didn't know that at the time.
So, yeah,
Anyways.
I mean, 12 ounces of Red Bull is the same as an 8-ounce cup of coffee. And I would suggest that Starbucks is advertised more to children than Prime is.
I would say, regardless of advertised to or not, I would say more kids are drinking at least some
Coffee
of their parents. Yeah, going with their mom and getting a mocha frappuccino or whatever.
Well, here's the thing: if you're going to drink your parents' coffee, you might have had creamer as an option. My parents didn't drink coffee; they drank tea.
Right.
So, but we'll go with coffee. My grandma and grandpa did, and they had non-dairy, plain flavor creamer as the option to add to it to make it not taste like coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And sugar, and that's it.
Yeah. The mocha frappuccino doesn't. I mean, it barely tastes like coffee. It tastes like
they didn't taste good when we were kids.
Yeah. I'm not a coffee drinker, so I still don't.
I don't drink coffee. Sorry.
It's
Twitchy from Hoodwinked.
But so, anyways, let's get to the pro wrestling games. I always open it up to see if you want to go first or if you want me to go first. I've got my game all queued up, so if you're wanting me to go first, I'm perfectly able to.
No, I'll go first because I'm excited for your game.
Okay.
And I don't know how excited you'll be for my game.
Yeah. Before we get into that, though, I just want to let everyone in on the piece of trivia that I gave you before the show, since it won't be in whenever we do a trivia night. Who is credited officially as the inventor, originator of the chokeslam?
Who is credited as the inventor or originator of the chokeslam?
Mm-hmm. Now, we talked about this before the show, so they know that you're putting on an act.
What have I ever?
Would you ever?
I would never.
You would never,
Ever.
Mr. District Attorney Vincent K. Faye would ever lie.
You just made the list. I went through like 3 stages of Jericho there.
Yeah.
I was befuddled when you gave me the next hint because my thought process was, okay, this is early. Is this like a Killer Kowalski thing? Is this that guy from Greece that we saw has like huge numbers of audiences when he's there? That dude was like a stud. Like he's Ric Flair and Jericho and Hogan all mixed into one.
The earliest known recorded chokeslam was in 1831.
Well, that's before that guy in Greece. He was in the 1930s. This is professional wrestling?
It's technically what they would call Greco-Roman or amateur wrestling.
Fighting without fists.
It was a legitimate wrestling fight.
Okay. So this is kind of like the Olympics, but obviously not the Olympics because they didn't come back until 1900. 18 what?
1831.
1831. Oh, God, we got to be talking about like Davy Crockett or something then.
Not quite Davy Crockett. If he were to perform in current pro wrestling WWE, he probably would nickname the choke slam as the Emancipator.
You talking about Abe?
I'm talking about Abe.
Honest Abe.
Honest Abe Lincoln, officially credited as the first person to do a choke slam.
That is literally about how that conversation went. Some of the names were changed to protect the innocent, but that is about how that conversation went earlier. I had no clue. I didn't know it was going to be Abe Lincoln.
Abe Lincoln, who is also
Abe Lincoln, not Abe Lincoln.
The Wrestling Hall of Fame, not the WWE Hall of Fame, the actual Wrestling Hall of Fame.
The Scrappy Dappy Doo Hall of Fame.
His final record was somewhere around 301. You know what I mean? 300 to 1. One loss, about 300 victories. But anyways.
Don't make it horrible and say that the loss was to John Wilkes Booth.
I'm not going to, but if you want to, I can't stop you.
I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say it, but it is not too soon to make that joke. But I'm not gonna say it.
I think enough time has passed.
Yes. But I'm not gonna say it. Because that would be wrong.
I'm not gonna say it.
But if our fans wanted to say it, they can tell that story.
Okay.
All right.
So nice. Go on with your challenge.
My challenge has a lot to do with what I mentioned when we were chatting off air. What I mentioned was I did not know that I had a biker mom fetish. I kind of did because I watched Sons of Anarchy and Gemma kind of did things for me. But I didn't know I had a biker mom fetish until last night. Because Mommy took control of everything. I mean, she took control of the whole show. She was working guerrilla from everywhere on camera. It was great. That said, I want you to make your wrestling family tree. Not your Mount Rushmore. We always do Mount Rushmores. We always do lists of goats. We always do. So you get to pick a wrestler in an era. And then you don't have to work generations back, but 3 to 5, 7 years is what most eras run in wrestling. So work back an era for their parents, back another era for their grandparents, back another era for their great-grandparents. And I want to see it, maybe the kids today and the people of yesteryear who are still wrestling today, and then work from there. So you could have Triple H, CM Punk, Triple H as Grandpa, CM Punk as Dad. That would never be the one that would work. You wouldn't make that happen. And then the kids could be, Kenny Omega, and then the grandbabies could be, the people of the future.
Okay. So what I need to clarify is, what's the qualifications for them? Like, what is their reasoning for being on my family tree? Is this family tree of my influences in professional wrestling? Family tree in terms of their influences on each other?
Ooh.
Family tree in terms of...
You raised valid points that I didn't think of.
The family tree in terms of, their influences on the game.
Let's make it a goat of the era family tree.
Okay, goat of the era family.
Because you're right. You could easily say dark character family tree.
Mm-hmm.
You could easily say personal influences and enjoyment of watching. You could say evolution of high flyers family tree.
You could even, and this is the one that I first switched to, was influences on me family tree.
Well, if it goes quick enough with the Goats of the Era family tree, then we will switch to yours.
So,
The eras don't have to be heavily defined, but give yourself enough time. You don't need to have HBK and then be like, well, his career sort of ended in 1998, so Triple H is right there.
Just to make it easy, I'm gonna basically try to keep it decades, right?
Okay.
So the 2020s, the
so
2010s,
we're using essentially for 40 to 50 years worth.
Yeah. So 2020s, 2010s, 20-aughts, 90s, 80s, maybe back farther. 70s. Yep.
Maybe there's a long lost grandpa that we know of named Don Morocco that pops into your head or something. Cool. So I'm gonna give you the screen, my friend. I'm also gonna go mobile. You're like, I knew you were gonna do that today.
Time to go mobile. That was Bane, by the way.
Oh, time to go mobile.
Time to go mobile.
You know, that's Bane didn't really talk in the cartoons, but
time to go mobile.
I deeply enjoyed the movie Bane. I know that some people would tell you that it's not accurate enough.
Perhaps he is wondering why you would shoot someone and then throw them out of plane.
Good lord.
Have you ever seen Bane Cat, by the way?
Bane Cat?
Bane Cat.
No, I can't say that I have.
It's a YouTube series.
Bane Cat.
Bane Cat. This guy had a cat, chubby cat, who was kind of a dick, but apparently was also amenable to putting on an outfit. So he created a Bane outfit for this cat, and he created a web series.
And it wore it on its face?
Yeah, it wore the Bane mask on its face. It wore a fake, like a Bane jacket with the fluffy thing on it. And then it just filled it with quotes from the movie. I was wondering who would break first.
That's funny.
And then did these little shorts about Bane Cat just kind of ruining his life. Eventually there was a Joker cat that showed up. Okay. Anyway, so the 2020s goat.
So this is we're gonna use a kid from today.
Yes. The 2020 goats.
Some siblings, maybe, and then up to parents.
Possibly.
Okay.
So the 2020 goat, which would be the current generation, the now, right? I feel it's tough because he's a little older than I think you would think for the 2020s goat. And some people are going to hate me for even saying this, but I think it's Cody Rhodes, and I think that's going to prove out over the next 5 or 6 years.
No siblings, only child.
I mean,
nobody else in consideration here.
He's got siblings. He's got his brothers, Matt and Nick, who are there. But here's the deal: is, when we talk about goat, there's only one goat. You know what I mean?
I understand, but I mean, this is kind of a Mount Rushmore-esque setup here.
But you said we're not doing Mount Rushmore.
Okay, sorry. But you can have some siblings. So Matt and Nick, maybe even cousin Kenny.
Nah, Kenny's going to be Uncle Kenny.
Uncle Kenny.
Because
he was the goat in the last generation.
Yes. And here's here's what it comes down to is he is not the goat of the 2010s. But he is in that area.
Conversation.
And the only reason that he goes in the 2010s instead of the 2020s is because his trilogy with Okada was in the 2010s, right?
Yes, it was 2019. He'd be younger Uncle Kenny.
Yeah. He'd be the young uncle, but he's still Uncle Kenny.
Okay.
In terms of elsewhere in
Is there
the
a sister to Cody, out of curiosity? It might be mommy. If you say mommy, I will not be disappointed.
I don't think I'm gonna maybe, but I mean she would be down. To be perfectly honest. Because here's the deal. I love Rhea Ripley. I may actually love Rhea Ripley.
Don't tell your wife.
but here's the thing with it, right? She's great in the ring. But I don't think she's the greatest in the ring of the current crop of women stars.
Oh, I would agree. Yeah, this recent character change has given her the best storyline of her career too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
because I would say in terms of in-ring work, you could make a big argument for Becky Lynch. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could make a really big argument for Sasha Banks / Mercedes Money.
I think you have a pretty solid argument for Aunt Becky though too.
Mm-hmm. You if you want to go over to AEW, you have a pretty solid argument for Britt Baker.
For a sister to Cody?
For a sister. And possibly a close sister. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
In terms of like women of the 2020s, women wrestler of the 2020s, Britt Baker's got to be up there, right?
Yeah, long lost cousin Bianca type thing. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
That's how good Britt Baker is. People don't give her enough credit.
They don't. They don't give her enough credit for doing what she is doing right now, which is purposefully keeping herself out of the main event scene,
so that
other people a chance to shine, because she knows she could be champion. She's got the charisma, she's got the talent, she's got the abilities, she's got the popularity. They could have just put that strap on her and just kept it on her, right? But she also knows.
You said strap on. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go on.
But she also knows that part of this fledgling wrestling company's success is expanding this women's division to have as many stars as possible. And that Jade Cargill is a star on the rise, and that Hikaru Shida is a star on the rise, and Toni Storm is a star on the rise, and you know, Ruby Soho is a star on the rise, and there's so many women stars that are like on the verge and getting some shine right now, mostly because Britt Baker isn't, for lack of a better term, hogging the spotlight. You know what I mean? When she could. I mean, she literally could have made an argument to keep it on her, but Sky Blue is going to be a star for a long time. I'm totally blanking on the name of the one who just wrestled the other week. Fuck. She just wrestled.
Really she wore red.
No. God, what is her name? Because we were talking about her at the same time as we were talking about Nick Wayne. And we were like, she might be very very soon signed. She's young enough.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
God, I'm totally blanking on.
Yeah, you're fine. I know who you're talking about.
Anyways, totally blanking on her name. It makes me, but she's a star of the future, right? Layla
might be an infant.
Yeah, she's you know, but the thing is, she just hasn't had a chance to shine yet, right? Layla Hirsch has every chance to be, in terms of talent, star of the future. but they need some room to grow. Ty Mello, potential star of the future.
Yeah.
She will have to take some time because she's having a baby, and who knows how long she'll be out before she comes back. I think Yuka Sakazaki has every skill to be a star. It surprises me that they don't have her out there more often, right? And the only thing I can think of is she's still wrestling in Japan as well, and that her schedule in Japan is keeping her from wrestling here as much.
All right, so
but
you still haven't given us parents yet.
I have not.
Got Uncle Kenny, Aunt Becky.
So yeah, going back to sorry, I'm sidetracked, and my brain's like, I want to remember this name because my brain is going to be so angry if I don't remember this name. It was before. Was it when they were in Chicago? No. God, what was her name? It's totally.
I'm really interested to see who you put as the GOAT of the teens. If it's who I think it is, I wholeheartedly agree. But I don't know if that's who we got.
Okay, anyways, sorry. My brain's still stuck on this because I can totally see her, and I just can't get her name. So, in terms of star of the teens, I would have to put a GOAT of the teens at Seth Rollins.
That's who I thought you were going to say. Yes, Seth Rollins is the best wrestler of the teens.
Yes. Here's a fun stat that I learned. Up until a year and a half ago, Seth Rollins had never been a SmackDown assigned wrestler. He had always been his entire main roster career had always been Raw. It was a year and a half ago at that time's Superstar Shakeup that he got moved over to SmackDown for the first time in his career. So he spent all of the teens that he was on the main roster on Raw carrying it. It truly was Monday Night Rollins.
Yeah, I mean, there's other people. Like I said, we can make an argument for Becky. You can make an argument for Kenny Omega. You can make an argument for Dean Ambrose / John Moxley. But all those guys, well, not Kenny, but all those people were elevated by Seth keeping eyes on the television.
Mm-hmm.
Roman's not where he's at without Seth today.
Yeah. And the thing is, you could make a solid argument for Roman during the 2020s, right?
Yeah, because he's held the title for all of it.
Yes. You could also here's the only other person that I think in my mind the 20 teens might be up there with Seth, and this will get a lot of hate from the hardcore wrestling fans, but it's John Cena.
Ooh, I'd have him in the 2000s, but go on.
The 2000s is
Grandpa John.
the 2000s is a good point for him, and that also works. But in terms of like the height of his influence, the height of his career, that was the 20 teens, man. That was 2010 through 2015, right? I mean, here's the deal: is to this day he's wrestled in every year since his debut, right?
Good things Kevin Owens needed a partner.
Mm-hmm. He's already wrestled his match for this year, so he's good. But like you heard that pop when he came out in London,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
This is 2023. He wrestles once a year. That music hits and everyone goes, "Gah!" So
Seth is the dad. Who's the mom? Or is Becky? Is Becky not Aunt Becky? Is she mom? I mean, we have two couples that are making wrestling babies right now. So
yeah. So 2010s. It's hard to not put Charlotte Flair
I agree.
up there. I know currently it's easy to hate her.
Because you
but
do.
but in the 2010s, like her, Becky, and Sasha were instrumental in the women's revolution, right?
Yep.
Prior to that, like you could make an argument for Paige in the 2010s.
It just wasn't very long lived.
It just wasn't very long lived. She came in and she effectively was towards the end of the Divas. And then she had her injury and she was out and she missed most of the rest of the 2010s.
But Sasha, Becky, and Charlotte are really the strongest arguments.
Yeah, you could make an argument for AJ Lee, but again, she wasn't there for a lot of it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
the same reason you don't have Daddy John, you have Uncle John.
Yep. Also in the 2010s up there, so this is going to be Uncle AJ Styles.
Oh yeah. He could be Uncle Grandpa.
Yeah. But you know, if we're including New Japan, this is where you put Kazuchika Okada right there with Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
So, moving up.
But I agree. Seth carried the industry in the 20s, not just that company, the entire industry. Because without WWE in the 20 teens, unfortunately, it probably dies domestically.
Yeah.
And without Seth Rollins, somebody would have filled those shoes, but he's the one who did.
So, moving to the 2000s, this is where you say you would have put John Cena.
Yes.
But I argue that in the 2000s, the GOAT of the 2000s is Triple H.
Fair. 14 world or 13 of his 14 title reigns were during that time.
Yeah. And part of why I say this is like we now with hindsight can look back on Triple H's career and we can talk about his time as Hunter Hearst Helmsley. We can talk about his time as Jean-Paul Levesque in WCW or Terror Rising or all of that stuff, you know, with it. But what we have to remember is in 1996, he participated with 3 other guys in the curtain call, right?
And his career was supposed to be destroyed.
Yes, his career was supposed to be destroyed. He was the only one who got punished from it because Shawn Michaels was the star. Right.
Yeah.
They were hitching their wagon to Shawn Michaels' star at that point.
And he already had the title on him.
And he had the title on him. Right. He was the star. The other 2 members in the curtain call were fucking out of there. Right. They went to WCW where they became huge stars there. Triple H, at the time, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, was the only one who was at the time expendable. And so he bore the brunt of the punishment. He got jobbed out left and right for 4 years. Like, you can find video of almost every wrestler that he faced from mid 96 till fucking 1999. Like, no selling his shots. Just like nothing. He became effectively a jobber, right? And then in 99 he works his way back and he invents the
That's
Triple
the
H gimmick.
I am the game promo.
In 99 he cuts the I am the game promo. One of the most brilliant. This was the pipe bomb before the pipe bomb, right?
Yep.
It's an
Interview
interview with Jim
Jim Ross.
Jim Ross, tries to admonish him about his language because he drops the F-bomb. And he goes off and he says, you want to talk about language? You want to talk about stuff 4 years ago? And he drops this promo that talks about stuff that wasn't part of storyline. He talks about the curtain call. He doesn't name names, but he talks about it. And he mentions that, I got shit on by it. And he says, you talk about all these people who are students of the game. I am the game, right? There's nobody that eats, sleeps, and breathes this sport more than I do. And that reinvented his career. Like, he had already worked his way back up to contender status, main event status by that point, but that changed everything. And in the 2000s, that would, late 99, early 2000, and on, birth of DX, birth of the game Triple H, the cerebral assassin Triple H, the Triple H that runs the show to this day was molded in the 2000s.
Absolutely.
And so, at the same point, you do also have Uncle Brock at that point.
Yeah, you got lots of great uncles at that point. I mean,
You got Uncle Kurt,
Kurt Angle,
Uncle
the one that I was
Randy.
also with there. Oh, come on. Ooh, where did we freeze? Oh my. Well, I don't know if we froze on Smark's end or on my end. There he comes back. So, sorry about that. We weren't trying to have a freeze there. We got to Uncle Randy, so, or Great Uncle Randy. Just waiting for him to get back on. He'll be coming back. Promise it. Promise it. Promise it. Yeah, he just sent me a text message that it is his Wi-Fi dropped, so I'm going to let him know that we are waiting for him to come back. We're waiting. Boom, 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 boom. La da da, la da 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 da. Wah 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 wah. Wah 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 wah. The interesting thing I think that I've noticed about this is that the people we would call GOAT, i.e. Chris Jericho, I don't think he is the GOAT of any particular decade. I think it's his longevity that's caused some of that. You can put John Cena in multiple decades, and Smarks has him, discussed in the 20 teens. You can also, say that he's not the GOAT of a particular decade. I think he's the GOAT of the 20 aughts. That's just me personally. I think he carried it. CM Punk would be the closest in that era. Um, but I understand where Smarks is at, because at the end of the day, there are some people who just aren't the goat of a decade that go on your all-time Mount Rushmore pretty easily. I.e., Chris Jericho is a really good example. Um, you know, as we roll on, so I'll just give you mine currently. I think the goat of this decade. Only being 3 years in is really tough to say, because it is a person of the future. But I oh, hey, you're back. Cool.
Okay, Elon.
Wait, you're not on Elon's stuff.
Actually, to be perfectly honest, I think it's something with my router, but it doesn't matter. I'm back. Yeah, so
Uncle Randy was the last one you got out.
Yeah, Uncle Randy. I said you could make an argument for Randy in the 2010s. Make a really solid argument for Randy in the 2010s.
You could make it for CM
over
for
the
20. No, that was 2000s. Is what you said was Randy was.
Yeah, I said Randy is 2000s, but you could make a solid argument for the 2010s as well.
So who do you have in the 2010s? Oh, Triple H.
Yeah, Triple H is the 20-aughts, right?
And
I already did the 2010s.
He simply elevated everybody he got around in the 2000s.
Now in the 2000s, you also have Uncle Rock, and Uncle Steve.
Again, you think about the Rock's influence and where he lays as a GOAT, pound for pound or time for time. Probably him and Stone Cold are probably the most influential wrestlers of all time, or characters, The Rock and Stone Cold. But I don't think they can either of them can be the GOAT of a decade.
Yeah, especially since neither of their careers lasted.
No, I mean, Stone Cold was 96 to 2002.
Yep.
And The Rock was 96 to 2002.
Yep.
Stone Cold was 2003.
Yep.
So, yeah. 7 years is not a long time. And they may very well go on your Mount Rushmore of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Actually, that's what I was talking about while you were gone, because I don't think Chris Jericho is going to come up in this conversation. I don't think he's the GOAT of any decade. And I think he's the actual GOAT.
Yeah. He's like, if there was a decade to put him as the GOAT, the 20-aughts is probably the closest you'll get. But remember, in the 20-aughts, he was mostly a mid-carder.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, you could go 20 teams pretty easily with the you just made the list and all that stuff. But that was also mid-card.
He teased with. Still mostly mid-card. You know? So then the 90s. The 90s is interesting because the 90s you have a lot of potentials. Because you could make a real argument for Shawn Michaels. You could make a real argument for Bret Hart or Hogan or Ric Flair.
You could make a really good argument that that's the best decade of Hogan. We lost him again. Let's see if it saves. There he is. Okay, you're back. Whew.
Something with my Wi-Fi tonight, I think.
Anyway, you said Hogan or Ric Flair in the 90s. Yep. Well, he's still kind of here. Hey, there you are.
Here again. I don't know what it is with my fucking connection tonight. Yeah. Okay. The person that I'm going to give the GOAT for the 90s, though, is actually someone that he's not on my list in terms of favorite wrestlers. He's a wrestler that I don't think I like. He's not for me. But it's Taker.
Oh, okay. That's why you didn't respond when I said Taker. Sorry.
Yeah, it's Taker is what it is. Yeah, when you started to say something, and that's when I blipped out. So, Taker is the one for the 90s. Hogan is up there. It might be a case of Taker's your daddy, but it might also be Hogan. We're just not sure.
Jerry Springer shit right here.
Yeah. Fucking Maury Povich isn't around to do the DNA test. So we don't know. Taker's your daddy, but Hogan's the mailman that looks a lot like you. You know? So, but in terms of like otherwise, like I say, Ric Flair is definitely up there. Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. Individually, I don't know if either of them make the list. Together, even though they fucking hated each other, they're on the list. You know what I mean?
I think both their careers were amplified by each other.
Yes. Together, they hated each other, but they needed each other. That's simply what it came down to. You know, Shawn Michaels, let's just go to the Montreal Screwjob.
That stinks. He'll be back. We promise.
Fuck. I don't know what's going on. My good. It's just something with my connection with StreamYard that's dropping. Anyways.
Fucking Elon.
Fucking Elon. This is turning into a real shitty show right now.
Well, we'll see if we can get through this and
shitty bang bang.
Shitty bang bang. Shitty bang bang.
Wait, let's say the Montreal Screwjob ends cleanly, right? Doesn't matter how it ends. Shawn Michaels wins cleanly. Bret Hart wins cleanly and does what he claims he was going to do. Come out on Monday night and vacate the title and then go off to WCW cleanly, right? Let's just say the Montreal Screwjob doesn't happen and the match ends cleanly. Neither of them benefit from it. Shawn Michaels doesn't become the top star and most hated heel in wrestling. You know what I mean?
True.
Out of it. Bret Hart doesn't get any bonus out of it, although he stayed bitter and kind of didn't get anything out of it in the end. You know what I mean? He got kicked in the face and a concussion and CTE, but that's all besides.
Thanks, Bill Goldberg.
Yeah. But in the end, the Montreal Screwjob had the ability to elevate both of their careers. It may have only effectively did it to one, but it elevated their careers. It definitely elevated the profile of a Vincent Kennedy McMahon, who went from being sort of owner, but like not really talked about owner, right?
To being Mr. McMahon.
To being Mr. McMahon. The biggest heel in all of professional wrestling.
Probably in professional wrestling history.
Mm-hmm. So.
That's a legacy that Tony Khan cannot take away from Vince McMahon.
Yeah, I don't think Tony Khan wants to. I think Tony Khan, in fact, I think Tony Khan is uncomfortable with being on camera just in general.
I think Tony Khan respects that Vince may have been one of the best characters in history.
Mm-hmm. But again, I don't think Tony Khan feels comfortable enough on camera. I think in his eyes, he just hasn't found a way to not be a character anymore. Right? He didn't want to be a character at all in the first place, but he just knows everyone knows him as the owner and chairman of AEW. Everyone knows that he's the one who makes the choices. So he's like, fuck, I have to be this character now. You know? I have to be the Tony Khan, the owner. And really, he could 100%. I think what he should do is assign Tony Schiavone as his official mouthpiece. Make an announcement of it. Tony Schiavone's word is my word. What Tony Schiavone says is what I say. Right? So now Tony Schiavone is effectively the on-screen general manager, you could call him, the on-screen authority figure. Right? Anytime there needs to be an announcement.
The raw anonymous general manager.
Yeah. Anytime there needs to be an announcement, Tony Schiavone can say it. Anytime they need to, do something, Tony Schiavone's the one who said it. Okay, anyways, moving back to the 80s. This will be the last decade that I do because I don't really know much prior to the 80s. Like, that's where I get to my weak spots and things. This is where we get our first like fully crossover, because in the 80s you can't really talk about 80s wrestling without talking about Hulk Hogan.
No, I would agree.
And so in terms of the 80s, Hulk Hogan's number one, Ric Flair is number two, probably. You can put some other people up there. Like, I mean, you could make a big argument for Bob Backlund in the 80s. You could make a big argument for Andre the Giant in the 80s, or Randy Savage in the 80s, or fucking Dusty Rhodes. Larry Zbyszko could make an argument. Ricky Steamboat. Jimmy Snuka. There's a lot of people you could make an argument in the 80s.
Boy, you just pulled out Larry Zbyszko, though.
He's the living legend.
He was the living legend, yes.
I think he's still alive.
Okay. He is the living legend.
I don't even know how to spell Zbyszko.
You could even make an argument for Sheik. It wouldn't be a good one, but you could make an argument for it.
Larry Zbyszko is still alive, age 71.
Good for Larry Zbyszko. I loved him as an announcer in the 90s.
Huh. Did you know Larry Zbyszko's father-in-law is Vern Gagne? He married Kathleen Gagne. So he's
I can tell
the
you
son-in-law of the
not
Gagnes.
Information I had.
That very well could play into why he was presented pretty well in, all of the Vern Gagnes. You know what I'm saying? Anyways.
Well, making that argument is like making the argument that that's why Triple H was big.
The thing is, Triple H was really big before he married Stephanie.
Yes.
But
storyline that went wrong for China is all that is.
Yep. In terms of the 70s, like I say, I don't have the ability to really talk about it, but you can't think of 70s wrestling without thinking of Bruno Sammartino.
Yeah, I mean, the only person who even comes close is Don Morocco.
Bob Backlund
Maybe
might
Flair.
be in there, maybe Flair, maybe Superstar Billy Graham. I think he even goes back farther though. So, anyways,
I like it.
That was fun. Fun game. Okay, now, while my internet's still working again, we will move on to my game.
Okay.
My game is taking a clue from you before. I think I actually did one of these first, but we're doing a tier list.
I love tier lists.
Tier list of pro wrestling finishers.
finishers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, did this exist? Did you build this?
This existed. I did not build this. Looking at this, this is um pretty WWE heavy. It does have a few from outside WWE, um, but it's pretty WWE heavy. I don't know if this gets any AEW in there. I can't see from certain, but so. But this is going to be your opinion on this. This is not the definitive list by any means, but it's your opinion, right? We're starting off with what potentially might be your very first S tier to start things off, and that is
The Tombstone.
the Tombstone Pile Driver.
Tombstone Pile Driver. It's been so well protected. So very, very well protected that it gets an S tier because it remains protected. However, the believability of it at the wrong camera angles can annihilate that in the future if they don't continue to protect it.
Doesn't actually show more on the screen. Okay.
So yes, I'll leave that as an S tier.
Okay. Give me 1 second. It's interesting that doesn't actually make it bigger doing that. Okay. Next one is the Rainmaker.
Oh,
Ripcord Lariat.
Ripcord Lariat. Yeah, I think it's a D. I think you were right.
Okay.
There's little to no believability to it as a more effective than a off the ropes lariat. The only thing that it does is the same thing that the one-winged angel does. Did I beat you into oblivion enough that I can wrap your arm around you and hold you long enough to do a ripcord lariat to you? But I did not find it believable when it looked better in the 20 teens, and I find it even less believable now.
Okay, the F5
B
tier.
I think you can see obvious reasons why. It's just basically letting somebody fall flat on their face. Doesn't really do much for me.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any specific AEW ones here. This one shows the Dirty Deeds
Also
specifically.
Well, it's the 1916. It's the Dirty Deeds. It's a modified double chicken wing DDT.
Yes, it is not, however, the Paradigm Shift, which is what he does in AEW now, because the Paradigm Shift does a full lift on it.
Well, so did the 1916 though.
Yeah, the Dirty Deeds didn't do the full lift on it.
So we're not counting all modified DDTs.
We're just, in this case, counting the Dirty Deeds.
Okay. Well, because there's not a lift with it, it is a C tier. You are correct. With a lift, it actually goes up to A tier. It skips the B tier, in my opinion.
I would agree that. The Styles Clash.
One of the most complicated moves to perform. Because of that, it's not D tier. But the fact of the matter is, it does not look effective. It is one of the most difficult moves to perform, and it doesn't look like it would do anything to make it go. It is a C tier move.
Okay. The Randy Knockout.
Is that the only cutter on the list?
It may be. I can't tell for certain, but from what I can see right now, it is.
Because it's a cutter, and Randy actually performs this really well. It's probably his second best move or his best move. His second row DDT is really cool too.
I'm a huge fan of his Snap Power Slam.
Oh yeah, that's all. Yeah,
Fucking,
I mean, He's not 5 moves of doom, but he has 5 moves that doom.
Yes.
That you go,
That-
oh wow.
That power
When he does
slam, it
I would
hits
agree.
so fast and so hard.
I'd give you that.
But this is the RKO.
That's an A move. Because it's a cutter, it's the only cutter on the list. I'm going to put it in S tier.
Okay. The phenomenal forearm.
That's an A tier. That's AJ Styles' better move.
This is, I believe,
Bomb?
the Batista bomb.
Roll that move back 10 years to when it's very, very protected, and the powerbomb is just an incredible move, and that is an S tier move. However, this is the different. This is why Tombstone still exists as an S tier, and the powerbomb does not. It's no longer, powerbombs are not at all protected now, whatsoever, in any way, shape, or form. The Blue Thunder Bomb is a guaranteed kick out, and it's a powerbomb. This is a B tier. It's a great setup move. There are some people who perform it very well. Batista did okay with it. I still believe that early Diesel, who did the jackknife powerbomb, which was actual pressure down and you landed on your shoulders rather than your back, was the very best of the powerbombs. Sharpshooter is
The
S tier.
sharpshooter, S tier.
It's the second best submission in the game. Not really. I'd move it down to A tier because there are better submissions.
Okay.
And lots of people do them, and some people do them wrong.
Yeah. The most common one to do it in WWE right now does it wrong, and it makes me physically angry every time I see it.
What do we got here? Is this a stunner? Shoulder breaker.
This is, I can't tell for certain on this, that is being delivered on Harley Race. It looks like
a spike power driver.
No, I know what that is. Oh fuck, that is Misawa. That is the Burning Hammer, I believe.
Okay, explain the Burning Hammer to me.
The Burning Hammer is a inverted attitude adjustment. Face up attitude adjustment. Face up, it's really more of a fucking.
It's like a torture rack into a fireman's carry.
Well, it's a fireman carry slam. It's Death Valley Driver. It's a face up Death Valley Driver. It's what it is. It's probably one of the most dangerous, actual dangerous moves performed in professional wrestling.
Oh, but it's done like a Death Valley Driver?
It's done like a Death Valley Driver.
I'll give it an A tier.
The person lands on this.
On their face. So you hold on to their feet and they're paralyzed.
He often would let go of their feet on his way down, but they would land like this.
Oof. Well,
It's banned. It's 100% banned in WWE. WWE won't let people do it. Someone, I can't remember who it was, tried to do it in the performance center like NXT, and immediately got told, no, you're not doing that. You are not doing that. They didn't give him, the Evan Bourne is, if you can do it 20 times in a row without missing, well, there's no, we're not letting you do that.
So this lands in the same category then as the Styles Clash, which means, is the danger of it worth the view of it?
You can
obviously
put that there.
Looks more devastating.
The difference is it looks fucking deadly.
But the danger of it takes it down to probably a B tier.
B tier. Okay. This is the Code Breaker.
I'm not a fan. I don't know. How do you feel about the Code Breaker?
Here's the thing. The Code Breaker was designed at a time when Chris Jericho felt he needed something like an RKO, something he could hit out of nowhere. But I don't think he ever fully wanted it to be his finisher. He just was tired of his finisher being the Walls of Jericho.
I feel like the Backstabber has a similar move with just the change of the opponent. The Backstabber looks more devastating. I'm gonna put the Code Breaker probably in a C tier.
Okay. This is, interestingly enough, the only one of
GTS.
these that does not actually feature the person delivering the move, it looks like.
It's them telling us about
It's
it.
them just telling them that they're going to deliver the move. But the GTS.
GTS is a tier move. It really looks good. It is not overused yet. It is on its way to being overused, and in 2 to 3 years, it will drop down to a B or C. But or 2 to maybe 10 years. But right now, it is an A tier move.
Okay. The Frog Splash, specifically the Eddie Guerrero Frog Splash.
It's cool. So it's not C or D. But that said, what's the difference between a frog splash and a splash?
This gives it extra oomph.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Does it?
It's scientifically proven that adds momentum to it. I'm
For
doing it
that,
one-handed.
because I mean, you're showing off your impressive athleticism that you can expand and contract your body and re-expand it. That's all you're doing. And I struggle to keep my suspension of disbelief when that happens. It is an A tier move with B tier results, because at the end of the day you just go, really? Really? That was your big move, huh? Okay.
So A tier, B tier.
It's B tier.
Okay.
A good splash from the top rope is great. Who is it that puts their the Usos? The Usos do a frog splash, but the Uso splash is not frogged. And maybe it's that they don't have the. I mean, if I take the motion out, the effect, my brain cannot compute that there's more effect there, because there's not.
Listen, I understand what you're saying. I get the same thing when I see luchadors like Rey Fenix doing the twisting senton, right, or the twisting splash to the outside, where they run and they jump and then they spin vertically in the air and land on the person. I'm like, how is that adding impact, right?
Well, it's more dangerous.
My brain can say, oh, if you're doing a flip, the top part of your body is moving faster at impact than if you were just splashing, because it's moving. So it's coming down like this. So a flip or something like that, my brain goes, I can see that hurting more. But a horizontal spin, I'm like, hey,
Doesn't work.
You're hitting him at the same speed.
You're just doing a barrel roll, bud. I mean, cool athleticism.
Yeah, I mean, it's
So
super impressive, but it's like, was it worth the extra?
This next one is another overused move. This was cool for the first two dudes who did it, Goldberg and Edge. Now the spear is just a spear. I mean, Bobby Lashley does a great one. Too bad it's overused.
Yeah, Ricky Starks' spear is filthy. It's dirty, and dirty in a good way. Dirty meaning cold, cold meaning good. Cold.
The problem is there's people who do it who. Edge's spear was not great.
Yep. The thing with the spear, and this might be what I will argue brings it down, even though this is your list, I'll put it wherever you want to. The spear never really is a finisher. Right?
No, and when they use it as a finisher, it does frustrate me.
Yeah. The most famous people to do the spear, it is their signature move that sets up their finisher.
Yes, except for Edge.
Except for Edge. Right?
And I didn't like Edge's. I thought Goldberg's was better. I think Bobby Lashley's is better. I think Ricky Starks' is better. And those are setup guys. There are some people who just use it in the match. Just use it. Overused, it's a C tier.
Okay. That's Stone Cold.
There is zero believability to this move, and it's still an S tier move. It is done great by Kevin Owens. It was done great by Stone Cold. It is a less impactful cutter. Or
fun fact: while we're on this discussion about talking about moves that become more and more common and lose their impact as they do it, you mentioning for the spear and whatever. That brings us to the age-old argument of things that used to be finishers that are now just regular moves. And I read a fact that I was not aware of that plays into this. Do you know the Irish whip was originally a guy's finisher?
They hit the ropes and they fell down, and that was the end.
Nope. He would grab them by the arm, push them back into the rope, and then whip them forward. But he wouldn't release his arm, right? So when they got forward, he would then pull them back into a arm bar takedown.
Kind of like an unagi. Uranagi.
Well, really more like a hip toss or an arm drag, right? He would flip them out. He would Irish whip them. It's where he got his name. Its name because his name was. Let me see if I can find it here.
Johnny O'Callaghan.
You're really not that far off. I'm trying to see if I can find it. He was an Irish wrestler, and it became called the Irish Whip because of him. I just don't. I must have closed that tab that had that on there. Give me a second.
You're good, bud.
It's now considered a just a basic move, right? It's a setup move for most people.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, I can't remember where his name is. I'm not finding it now.
Unagi.
No, that's not it. Irish professional wrestler Danny O'Mahony, who's credited as the inventor of the Irish Whip maneuver. But he used it as a finisher. It was his finishing maneuver.
That's humorous. Not humorous. The Irish Whip. What a good spot to take a break and talk about the Irish Whip when we're about to talk about.
It was really more like a judo throw, they say, and not like what we know it as a setup move now. Anyways, the figure 4 leg lock.
My good friend, Detective Mark Smarks, considers this the greatest submission maneuver of all time for the television audience.
For heels.
For heels. Mm-hmm. And I agree. It is the greatest submission maneuver for a television or for a televised or for people to watch it. Because you have to look the guy in the face. The referee has to be concerned with whether or not you're tapping and whether or not you're being pinned. You can cheat with it
Mm-hmm.
and increase the pressure. There's just a lot of good stuff with it.
Mm-hmm.
This is an S move to you.
Yes.
S
Also,
tier.
one of my favorite things with the
And it actually hurts. It does actually hurt.
one of my favorite things with the figure four, and admittedly, like I said, I'm a Sting fan. I love the sharpshooter, but the figure four has something the sharpshooter does not have, and that is a reversal of the figure four, the reversal of the move.
True.
That is, and here's the deal: is in reality, reversing the figure four the way that they do doesn't actually reduce the pressure in any way, shape, or form.
Nope.
It doesn't actually hurt the person giving it any. But from a theatrical standpoint, it's a very cool idea of he has me in this, but if I can turn it around so that I'm on my stomach and he's on his stomach, now it hurts him instead of me. And so that's where I just have to try to get over to. Whereas like the sharpshooter, Scorpion Deathlock, all you can do is the story. He's trying to get to the ropes or trying to overpower. You know, if you've got a smaller wrestler like a Bret Hart doing it to a larger wrestler like a Kevin Nash, you can tell the story of empowering out of the sharpshooter.
Correct.
But anyways, okay. The Olympic Slam / Angle Slam.
That was a cool looking slam, dude. It also is not easy to perform. It is very safe when done properly. But I don't think it's Kurt Angle's best move. And for that reason, it's A tier.
Okay. This is a power bomb.
Well, then that will go on the same tier as the Batista bomb is.
The only reason I'm debating on this is I can't tell who exactly is
Delivering it.
I think it's Kevin Owens. I think it's Kevin Owens' pop-up power bomb.
Powerbomb. All power bombs belong on the B tier. They are impactful. I do believe that when they hit, they're not protected at all.
Okay.
They're a safe move. I'm not saying that they're not protected as a finisher.
I cannot tell specifically what move this is.
This looks like the neuralizer. Is the arms wrapped around just one leg?
No, it's not the neuralizer because the person standing up is facing the wrong way. The guy is in tombstone position on his back. It's close to like the Deadeye by Hangman Page, but that's not Hangman Page there, I believe. And the only thing I can't tell.
The victim is is this a destroyer?
Well, that's what I'm kind of wondering. I can't tell. I think that might be Petey Williams, and this might be a still from a GIF of the middle of the Canadian Destroyer when he's upside
if it's
down.
Canadian Destroyer, even though it's overused today and it's not protected, this is an A tier move. This is very difficult, and I believe every single time that somebody got, I wince when anybody does a Canadian Destroyer. Even if it's a Panama Sunrise and there's a stop in between jumping off the ropes.
1 second to see if I can
to
find
deliver it.
Yes, that is Petey Williams doing a Canadian Destroyer, thanks to Google image search.
So that's an A tier. If they ever finished matches with it, it could easily be an S tier.
Yep.
Chokeslam is an S tier.
Yeah.
That is solidly something that people actually believe finishes people.
I think the Kane chokeslam should be an A tier, but we don't have a footage of the Abraham Lincoln chokeslam, so we'll just put
my favorite Kane chokeslam was the double-handed up, which was the submission into the drop down. I just loved that, and nobody does that. Glenn Jacobs is the only one I've ever seen do that.
Jake the Snake's DDT, the one that people point to when they say this used to be a finisher, but now it's just an everyday move. Stone Cold hates that it's become an everyday move.
It was a really cool move because of Jake the Snake, but at the end of the day, it's an everyday move, and it is a C-tier move. Without a more significant modification on it, it is the same thing as the Dirty Deeds.
The Kinshasa.
That looks brutal. It's a whizzer. It is a well-applied whizzer. It is an A-tier move.
The Stinky Leg Drop.
D. You knew where I was going already.
I believe this is the Master Lock.
Yeah. Do we have Bobby Lashley's?
I do not see Bobby Lashley's version.
So this is going to be any full Nelson submission. For television, it plays well, so that makes it above a D tier. It's really tough to believe sometimes that somebody can't break out of that or just straighten their arms and drop out. And I'm a former actual amateur wrestler, not amateur professional wrestler, but amateur wrestler, and I know you can't just get out of it. It still just doesn't play well on television for whatever reason. I'm going to put this at C tier. What's your thoughts?
Stink Face.
D tier. Really entertaining. Super duper entertaining. Doesn't finish anybody.
Mm-hmm. The Angle Lock.
S tier. That is one that also plays well for tormenting somebody. Yeah. So,
my unpopular opinion is I liked Ken Shamrock's ankle lock better than Kurt Angle's ankle lock.
Good. They were both good.
But that's mostly because Ken Shamrock always looked like he was going to pop a blood vessel in his brain like while doing it.
Absolutely.
Fun fact, do you know that Steve Blackman owns a bail bondsman service?
Yeah, you sent us a video of it.
That fucking blows my mind. I would not skip bail if Steve Blackman was my bail bondsman. I certainly would not. This is the Jackhammer.
Jackhammer suplex. That's an A-tier move, man. Like, I think we've actually had podcasts about talking about wishing somebody would use that today. If it wasn't on Goldberg and Goldberg didn't have the return, if Goldberg just let his career be the 4 years of fear, that might be an S-tier move. But I sincerely wish somebody would use this move again today. I think the perfect guy for it is Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, I mean he's very close. He does the stalling vertical suplex, so it wouldn't be too much for him to
turn into body slam with it, man. That's all you got to do. Mm-hmm. I love that move. I like it more than the spear. I know a lot of people like the spear. I love the jackhammer. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay.
This is Daniel Bryan.
Daniel Bryan's label lock.
At the end of the day, any level of crossface, and I don't see another crossface on here.
I do not.
Any level of crossface is a legitimate, painful move. It does play well for the cameras. But again, we have lots of people who use them. This would be an S tier 10 years ago. Sorry. We're going to say 16 years ago, before 2007. This would stay S tier even through John Cena, but it has dropped down to an A tier because so many people use
it. John Cena's one towards the end. His one
started looking pretty sloppy.
Well, he just looked lazy. Like, he got tired of working his back out to pull his hands up off. So instead, he would just put his hands on the mat and hold and so their head wasn't getting cranked back.
Yeah.
Speaking of spears, we have spear number 2, This one's Roman Reigns' spear.
All spears are at the same level. So
The 5-star frog splash.
all frog splashes are on the same level. It's a B tier.
The Razor's Edge / Outsider's Edge.
The Edge finisher is a really good finisher. The setup is beautiful. I like that it takes a little while longer. I like that it's been protected for 25 years. I mean, Razor did it. Sheamus did it. And Damian Priest does it. I can't think of anybody else who does it.
There was a guy down in NXT that was doing it, but he was not doing it in what I would call a safe way. Like he was throwing the people up and then powering them down, which I was not safe. And then Lance Archer does a inverted one where he sets them up the same way, but then he flips them over.
Loud. Oh, flips them over. That's right.
Flips them over. Yeah, so they land face down. Calls it the blackout.
Because this is legitimately a powerbomb modified with more of an angle to it. It is going to actually go above a powerbomb. It did not when I was 14, but it is now at 42 an A tier move.
Okay.
Damn near an S tier. That might be my highest A tier. 619 D. Is there one below D?
There's not one below D.
Okay.
No.
D.
The attitude adjustment / FU.
That's right along with Brock's F5. That's B.
Can we say that it gets a slightly better grade? Not enough to get up to an A, but it's like a B+ when it was the FU, but then when they changed it to AA,
it dropped down. Yep.
Rock bottom.
The Unagi with a body slam involved. This is an A tier move. I'm sorry. This is an S tier move. I loved this move. And it sold the entirety of earlier in that same S tier, Stone Cold. Those two moves are what sold that feud.
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing: the rock bottom, when Rock did it, it was a match finisher. Yes, he would do one more move afterwards usually, but if he hit you with the rock bottom, the match was over.
Yes,
right. Same thing with the stunner. If Stone Cold
most
hit you
times
with the stunner,
an Unagi suplex is a indicator of the finish of a match. So yeah.
I'm going to skip to the last one since we're on the Uranagi. We're going to do the one that follows it up, the people's elbow.
D.
B is in boy?
No, D is in dog.
D is in dog. Okay.
There's no believability to it. It's just pure entertainment.
It is pure entertainment.
And it's very entertaining. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that all of these that these bottom rung ones aren't. It's entertaining to watch a 619. It's just not believable.
We're ranking them as finishers. I get it. The top rope elbow drop, specifically Macho Man's version.
Yeah, that is the best elbow drop in the game, and it is an A tier move. And if there was another elbow drop, it would be significantly lower on the list.
Unless it was Kairi Sane's.
Which looks exactly like his.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The Sweet Chin music, and I'm going to specify this is not a super kick. This is the Sweet Chin music.
Okay, so super kicks are down at C and D. Sweet Chin music is an S tier move. It was unique to Shawn Michaels at the time. Nobody else did it.
I 100% feel that there is a difference between the Sweet Chin music and a super kick. Okay. There's a difference in lots of ways, but the biggest one is look at that super kick right there, or that Sweet Chin music right there in that picture.
He's at a 130-degree angle between his two legs.
He is standing basically straight upright with one leg, and the other leg going at an upward angle straight to the person's face.
Yes.
Right? Now, most of the people delivering super kicks now deliver them more like roundhouse kicks, where they kick straight out and their foot comes around like
Yeah.
this instead of like this comes around. The Usos, it bugs the shit out of me when they do their super kicks because none of them extend their legs. Their knees are bent the entire time. I don't know if it's laziness or it's just easier or they're just not
Or
flexible
safety,
enough
or
or safety. I don't know what the reason is, but it's not a sweet chin music. It's a and the Young Bucks, while they do extend their legs slightly more, their super kicks are still not like
sweet
this.
chin music.
Not a sweet chin music. It's not. But I do also argue that this is a perfect example of what I think is important for us as viewers to understand. The the wrestler makes the finisher, right? Uh a
Well, I'm
dozen
using it
people.
as a finisher.
Well, my point is a dozen people do power bombs, right? Well, you can get a power bomb from Kevin Owens or a power bomb from Kevin Nash. One of them's a finisher, one of them's a signature or a setup move. Which one ends the match? The Kevin Nash one does.
Yeah.
The wrestler makes the finisher, right?
And had we had Diesel doing a power bomb, you could do a tier ranker on power bombs. Okay, well then you've got Chris Candido and Kevin Nash are the top two.
Mm-hmm.
Like those are the two S tiers. Nobody else has that. Nobody else does what Kevin Nash does in terms of a big man power bomb, and nobody does what Chris Candido does. The closest to anything would be the buckle bomb, and that's just a setup move.
Mm-hmm.
What Chris Candido did off the top rope is an S tier move, and most people don't remember it. But
and so, kind of my argument here is at the Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega match, Will Ospreay hit Kenny Omega with the one winged angel, right?
Yep.
And Kenny Omega kicked out at 1, right?
Shit at 1.0000001.
Yeah, it was fast.
It was like you touched the mat and now, oh yeah, the ref hit the mat and he's like, yeah, nobody's hit me with that.
Nobody's making me. Yeah, and that's my thing is in the end, it's not about the move that they hit; it's about which wrestler hit that move.
Sure,
right.
And that's part of the problem with this tier ranker is because some of these are.
That's why I'm trying to specify usually that it's the person performing its version of it. Like for me, I'm not a fan personally of pile drivers. I think pile drivers as a whole, especially tombstone pile drivers, to me do not look as devastating as some other finishers, right?
The Undertaker does it,
but and a lot of people do pile drivers, and for the most part, most people kick out after their pile drive. When the Undertaker hits you with a pile driver, that match is over because for him it's protected when he does it. And so, if you want to have a reason in your head canon to make it make sense, you basically just say this person has perfected the pile driver. So when he does it, it has the most impact it possibly can.
Sure.
These other people have not perfected it. Therefore, the impact is minimized. The damage is minimized. Okay. The final one. The curb stomp.
Super duper protected. Looks fierce. Makes me uncomfortable. Is this an S tier move? It's going to stay A tier for now because it still makes me uncomfortable because it was taken from a movie that makes me uncomfortable. That's the only reason this is not an S tier move.
Okay. So now that we're at the finish, is there any ones you want to change?
I don't know. I have to consider safety. So this reverse
Burning Hammer.
Yeah, the Burning Hammer makes me uncomfortable. I simply can't move that up. If we're talking, well, that's even correct with the that particular artist, because like the big elbow from Randy Savage, anybody else does that, and it's not. I mean, other than Kyrie Sane, yes, I know. Orton's RKO was great, stunner. I don't think any of the S tiers need to come down. Notice those are almost all GOAT performers as well. GOAT Conversations performers. I personally, even if it is Petey Williams, I don't think you can go higher on the Canadian Destroyer because of the amount of people who do it.
There's also, let's be honest, with the Canadian Destroyer, there's a believability aspect to it that
you did enough of a spin that you got them their back body drop to turn into a pile driver against them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and fortunately for Petey Williams, Adam Cole Bebe ruins that because he does the Panama Sunrise, which is, I'm going to jump into the position that I do my Canadian Destroyer on you.
Yes. From the second rope.
From the second rope. But there is going to be a noticeable stop before I set up the Canadian Destroyer.
I'm going to sit there and I'm going to wait for you to get in position. And then I'm going to jump. I love Adam Cole, but I do wish the Panama Sunrise.
I need it to move faster. And I don't, because I don't want you to do it wrong.
Yeah. I just wish he would retire that. The boom, or what did he call it in NXT? Anyways, the running knee to the back of the head.
Reverse
Shining Wizard.
Shining Wizard,
but
yeah.
It's what did he call it in NXT? Guy, can't remember. Anyways, that's a way cooler.
It was something bullet, wasn't it?
No. I want to say it was another play on like a Miami something or Florida something, but okay. Well, we're gonna say that this is your definitive list.
What would you change about it?
I don't know how much I would change. Like I would take me personally would drop the
last shot.
The last shot. That's right. It was based on a drink, which the Panama Sunrise is like the tequila sunrise. So
yeah.
I personally, I mentioned, when it comes to Tombstone pile drivers, I'm not a pile driver fan. So to me, that goes down to A tier. The choke slam also would be A tier for me. I personally would move the Razor's Edge up to S tier myself.
Okay.
I also would probably put the Stomp up to S tier because as much as it makes you feel funny, it's a phenomenal move. The Burning Hammer, if only because there's only he did not use it often. Misawa didn't, and there's only one person who ever kicked out of it. I want to say he used it like less than 30 times in his career. Okay. Only one person ever kicked out of it. And it's a fucking devastating move. But I can see exactly why WWE's like, no one's doing that. No one's doing that. I mean, here's the deal. Misawa also invented the Tiger Driver and the Tiger Driver 91. We saw Tiger Driver 91 in Forbidden Door, and I thought it killed Kenny Omega. I legitimately thought, holy shit, did we just witness a murder? It did not. Kenny Omega's fine.
He's alive.
But this isn't my listing. This is your listing.
Anything you'd have moved up from that D tier?
I would have put the People's Elbow probably C tier just because of how entertaining it was. I'm not as big a hater on the Rainmaker as you, but I wouldn't have put it A tier or S tier. Um, I may have put the F5 and the Attitude Adjustment higher. But
Wowie
otherwise,
zowie. Really?
yeah.
You're a nice guy.
I wouldn't have put them up to S tier by any means, but I would have put them maybe a little higher. Okay. I'm just saving that tier list. And then what I was going to do is go back here and see if there was another tier list that included any. Let me see if I can do AEW. See if anyone has made an AEW finishers tier list. They did. It's a little outdated. Let's see how many. How many they have? Oh, fuck, they've got a lot of them. We'll just save this for a future one.
Cool.
It's a little outdated, but it'll be.
I have to agree with you. Adam Goldberg should do the last shot again.
Yeah, he still does it. He just calls it the boom now.
But it's not his finisher.
But it's not his finisher. He still goes to the Panama Sunrise for it. And I think the boom is legitimately the finisher. So anyways, on that note, we're going to go ahead and I think wrap things up for this. Hopefully sometime soon we'll have a second host on the Pro Wrestling Game Night so that I can do my trivia contest and actually have, competition for it. I want that to happen.
Yeah, I really enjoy when there's. I also enjoy doing tier rankers and the new concept of a family tree, creative factions, and all those types of things. But I really, actually, surprisingly, deeply enjoyed the GOAT of the Decade. I thought that was a really kind of a cool little game that spurned out of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It would be fun to do the years of Detective Mark Smarks, who he thinks the GOAT of that particular year was. And your first 7 would all be...
I have to correct myself on it. That was not Misawa. Misawa didn't do the Burning Hammer. It was Kenta Kobashi who did the Burning Hammer. And he only did it. He only did it, I think, 7 times.
7?
Mm-hmm. Here.
Now, what I do think you could do, it would be a tag team move in that same setup, the reverse fireman's carry,
and watching
an
this
drop from the top guy.
Watching this really quickly, does make me also do a correction. It had been a while since I watched Burning Hammer. You do still land on the back of your head, which is part of what makes this dangerous. But here, I present to you all 7 Kenta Kobashi Burning Hammers.
Oh my god.
There he landed more on his face.
Yeah, that was...
There he landed.
These last
Mostly
ones
like
are more protected. So is that one.
Mm-hmm.
That one almost is one.
That one is really just a DVD. That value.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that first one. Mm-hmm. Yes. I think that guy died. Maybe that guy too. I may believe this.
But I wouldn't have a problem even with an inverted AA. Just flip him over on their face.
Yeah.
How's that any different than what Brock Lesnar does?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the deal. You take the burning hammer and you turn it into an AA. It effectively becomes the lights out that version, that Lance Archer does version of the Outsider's Edge. I always appreciated the way Scott Hall Razor Ramon did the Outsider's Edge because it was less of a slam and more of a horizontal throw.
Yes.
Like he would always step back towards the corner so that when he went down to his knee and threw, they
clear across the ring.
Yeah, slid across the ring almost. I always imagined that the road rash was at least part of the pain of that move.
Correct. Yep.
But anyways, on that note, we're going to wrap things up on this before my ADHD takes me down a rabbit hole that you guys don't want to follow me on right now. I am your host, Detective Mark Smarts. Make sure to follow me on all of the social medias at Raw and Order WBU, just like it shows right there. You can follow DA Fabe
at DA Vincent Kayfabe on Twitter only. Mm-hmm. That was straight, dude. Like I didn't line it up for nothing.
I'm also now on Threads, same handle. I will probably be posting more on Threads than on Twitter because I do firmly right now believe that I think Twitter's days are numbered. Not because I'm choosing a side in the billionaire fight, but more because I found out Bill Gates has a $1 billion short sell on Twitter stock right now. No, not Twitter, on Tesla stock, $1 billion, because he knows Elon has a $1 billion loan payment to Bank of America on the loan that he took out to buy Twitter. If he defaults on that, they'll make a margin call. They will take possession of almost all of his Tesla stock. They will sell them all immediately. They will also take possession of Twitter and immediately sell it. Tesla stocks will plummet because it suddenly had a large portion of them just hit the market. Almost all of the value right now on Twitter is based on Tesla stock. So that's going to fall out. I just think, here's the deal. Most of the time on the internet, things don't go away. They just kind of fade and fizzle, right? I mean, MySpace still exists. Fucking Napster still exists.
Wait, MySpace still exists?
MySpace still exists. It's been rebranded. It now is primarily a place for musicians to post content and license content out. But it still exists. It's not designed for you or I to get a MySpace page. It's designed for your shitty bands to get a MySpace page to promote their music.
Thanks. My shitty band will take your advice.
Mm-hmm. The Shitty Beatles. Oh, are they any good? No, they suck. Well, then it's not just a clever name. Name the movie. Anyways.
That's a Kevin Smith movie, but
no, it is not a Kevin Smith movie.
Ooh, which movie is it then?
You could almost argue it's a precursor to the Kevin Smith style movies. Although I don't know if it actually precursed them. It is based off of a Saturday Night Live sketch. It was one of the biggest comedy movies of its year. It spawned a sequel.
Is this Wayne's World?
It is Wayne's World. Wayne's World. The movie was 1992.
Party time. Excellent.
It's 2 years earlier than Clerks. Had to check that to be certain. But in a way, the protagonists of Wayne and Garth you could argue that they are kind of a proto Jay and Silent Bob in a way. Not drug dealers, not as annoying, sort of a thing, but kind of the same sort of a thing. Anyways, but yes, it was Wayne's World when they go to the bar to watch, and they eventually see Tia Carrere's band. The bouncer outside is talking about the bands that are playing. And he mentions that the band that's playing is the Shitty Beatles. And Wayne asks, are they any good? And he goes, no, they suck. And he goes, oh, well, then it's not just a clever name. I'm trying to remember who Tiny was the name of the character. And Tiny was played by someone. Meatloaf, that's right. Meatloaf was the one who played Tiny. God, my brain's working. Anyways, make sure to support us in all sorts of ways so that I can afford ADHD medication and not go off on these tangents. You can do it in all sorts of ways by liking, sharing, and subscribing. By subscribing to us on Twitch with your free Amazon Prime subscription if you want to. By purchasing merch from the merch links in the doobly-doos, or by sending us tips or bits on Twitch. Or by subscribing to us on YouTube's, where we post these after the fact so that you can watch them later there as well. But on that note, we're going to go ahead and close the book. Thank you all for joining us. We will see you soon.
Bye.